Good evening to all. Like every day, every Wednesday, 7:30, we will be having some sessions regarding Dhamma reading, Dhamma discussion. And this Wednesday, I'm interested in reading about the jhanas. And we will start the session by reading the Namo Tassa. And you can all recite along with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Varahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddham Dhammam Sangham. Yes, good. Last Wednesday we have read up to jhanas, up to page number 40 we have read, and we will continue to read this about jhana. Nanda madam, can you read?
Yes.
Yes.
As you progress, you will enter full absorption or apana concentration, in which awareness of the outside world will disappear entirely. You will have attained the first concentration jhana level. You then work through the rest of the 8 jhanas using the power of the deep concentration to suppress any further hindrances that arise. This process does work. You do experience concentration states that have similar characteristics to the aware twin jhanas, but they are not the same and have subtle differences which most just dismiss as not important, yet they are. One has some craving left and one doesn't. This type of jhana practice may take over a decade in the Thai tradition to develop. The Sri Lankans say they are better and can get you to the first jhana in less than 10 years practice. Some others say much less, but it takes an incredible effort. Bhante tells a story about a monk who was asked to go into an absorption jhana, which he did. The monks who were with him picked up his arm and raised it up above his head. It stayed there just hanging in the air. They asked the monk later if he knew they had done this, and he said no. The meditating monk was completely unaware of his body at that time and was only aware of his object of meditation. When one is absorbed, one cannot hear sounds, feel anything in the body, or sense anything at the physical 5 senses. So desire at the physical level is suppressed because it isn't there. In addition, because one is so tightly focused on their object of meditation, desire is also suppressed at the mental level. At the 4th absorption jhana and higher, it is said that the meditator even stops breathing through his mouth and nose and breathes through his ears. This is not the case with the tranquil aware jhana, in which one is aware of the outside world and continues to be breathe normally.
Yes, madam.
The tranquil
You can explain about this in brief. You can explain.
now with concentration practice, the meditator meditator's awareness of the outside world disappears entirely. You do experience the material jhanas and immaterial jhanas, but they're not the same. There is a subtle difference between the concentration jhanas and tranquil aware jhanas. There are subtle differences, but some people just ignore those subtle differences. With concentration jhana, the craving is still there. It is not completely gone. To experience the jhanas with concentration practice, it takes a very long time. In Thai tradition, it takes about 15 years or even longer, and Sri Lankan, they say it may take about 10 years or so. But with concentration jhanas, you have to make an incredible effort to experience them. Abantivel Ramsey tells a story about a monk who practiced absorption jhana, and while he was meditating, his hand was picked up and uh, uh, left it hanging in the air. And after he had finished his meditation, that monk was asked whether he was aware of that happening, and he said no, he had no aware of his body at that particular time. When one is absorbed with concentration practice, one can't hear sounds or feel anything in the body or sense anything from our five senses. So therefore, the desire at the physical level is suppressed. In addition, because one is so tightly focused on the object of meditation, the desire is also suppressed at the mental level as physical level as well. At the fourth absorption jhana and higher, it is said that the meditator even stops breathing through his mouth and nose and breathes through his ears. This is definitely not the case with tranquil aware jhana. When we practice tranquil aware jhana, you're very much aware of the outside world and continue to breathe normally.
Madam, next page I would like to read, and then next page we can continue. The
Okay.
tranquil aware jhana in Madhyama Nikaya 26, the noble search in the Madhyama Nikaya 36, the greater discourse to Sachaka. The Buddha describes his path to awakening. As mentioned in the previous section, he initially believed that the problem of reaching enlightenment was about control. Controlling mind with the goal to control desire and thus end suffering. The suttas go on to describe in some detail how the Buddha first tried meditation as the primary way to end suffering. He sought out and studied with the most skilled Indian yogic masters of the time, learning everything they had to teach. He initially trained with the absorption jhanas, as most yogis were doing at that time. When Gautama had attained to the seventh absorption jhana, the state of nothingness, his teacher, Alara Kalama, honored him, saying he had learned everything he had to teach. He invited him to stay and teach at his side. Gautama declined, for he knew there were more left to do. He saw that he could go deeper. There was something more than even this very sublime level of meditation. Suffering still existed. Craving was not yet extinguished. So he asked Alara Kalama if there might be an even higher state. Alara Kalama told Gautama he knew someone who taught the highest state attainable. He was told to go study with Uddaka Ramaputta, who taught him up to attain the eighth absorption jhana, that of neither perception nor non-perception. He mastered this state in a short time, and then the same thing happened. The teacher also invited him to stay and teach. Again, Gautama refused, feeling there was still something more to learn, that this was not the way to Nibbana. He still experienced subtle craving after coming out of these high states. Once more he left, having been told there was nothing left to be learned. He had mastered the highest yogic state taught at the time. He could find no one else to teach him any higher technique to control his mind. I would like to explain about this in this page. In this context, in the book, two suttas were being referred. One is Majjhima Nikaya 26 and Majjhima Nikaya 36. The Noble Search and the Greater Discourse to Sachaka. Earlier, it was believed that reaching enlightenment is only about the controlling mind, with the goal to control desire and thus end the suffering. And the sutta goes in like basically what the Buddha did was like Buddha had went to many different ways to end the suffering. And as we know, Buddha has learned even ascetic practices in those times, and he has learned in he has learned with the yogic masters at that time who were teaching the absorption jhanas. One of the case where Buddha entered seventh absorption jhana, which is called as nothingness, and is when this was learned with this teacher Alara Kalama. After reaching this state, Alara Kalama honored Gautama, and he invited him to continue to teach by staying with him, staying aside. But Gautama declined because he thought that there is still more left to do it, and craving is not yet extinguished by even after reaching the state of absorption jhana. So he Gautama asked Alar Kalama whether there is any other higher states. And Alara Kalama told that there is a higher state. He knew one of the person called higher state. He told to go and study with Uddaka Ramaputta, where Uddaka Ramaputta taught the eighth absorption jhana, neither perception nor perception. And this is the absorption jhana, not an aware jhana. And in a short time, Gautama learned about it. And in similar way, the Karamaputta advised Gautama to teach a side, but still, Gautama taught that still there is a way to and the way to go to Nibbana, and he still experienced a craving after even after reaching this technique. And overall, what happened was Gautama went to many yogic masters to learn about it, but no one can teach any higher technique to control his mind. Yes, I request Vijay sir, can you able to read?
See, my throat is not good, but I'll try.
Fine.
Chapter 3. What is a jhana? Whenever Bhikkhu K. Yananda states in his small book, Nibbana, The Mind Still, Volume 2, in Sermon 6, page 127. The subtler layers of preparations, thoughts, and formations also have ignorance, this craving, hidden within them. That is why even Larka Kalma and Udakkar Ramputta thought that they could get out of this wheel of existence, samsara, by tranquilizing the bodily activities, verbal activities, and the mental activities. But they did not understand that all these are sankharas, or preparations. Therefore, they were confronted with a certain dilemma. They went on claiming calming down the bodily activities to subtler and subtler levels. They calm down the in breath and out breath. They manage to suppress thinking and pondering by concentration exercises, but without proper understanding. It was only a temporary calming down. No awakening had yet occurred for Gautama into the true nature of mind. So disappointed, he rejected all mental absorption, concentration practices and set off to do the ascetic practices of the yogic sadhus. By controlling pain in the body through engaging in the tortures, pain producing practices, he hoped to achieve control of his mind. This would hopefully bring him to peace and balanced mind. After 6 years of asceticism, doing unspeakably difficult and even disgusting practices like drinking his own urine and worse, see Suttas MN 36 and MN 12, when he was on the verge of death, the Bodhisattva, the future Buddha, gave up that path as well. He did master control of his body and perfected by any austerity that was asked to him, but this did not lead him to the end of desire. After spending all his time mastering the yogic concentration, jhanas, and the yogic austerities, the future Buddha sat on the banks of Ganga near present-day Bodh Gaya. He was nearly starving to death, down to eating one rice grain per day. He knew he would die if he continued. A young woman named Sujata came and offered him sweet milk rice to eat. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to concentrate a reasonable portion of food. Immediately, he felt his energy returning, virtually started to course through his body and mind. As he sat there on the river's bank, in the shade of a Bodhi tree, he reflected on his past efforts, realizing they had all been in vain. He was no closer to the end of suffering than when he started. He had tried and mastered all of the practices of concentration and asceticism and hadn't gotten any closer to awakening. Then Gautama, the future Buddha, began to reflect on the plight of the human being. In the Samyukta Nikaya, the book of castration, Nibbana origination, it says, because before my awakening, while I was still a bodhisattva not yet fully awakened, it occurred to me, else this world has fallen into trouble in that it is born, ages and dies. It passes away and is reborn, yet it does not understand the escape from suffering headed by aging and death. Then it occurred to me, when what exists does aging and death come to be? By what is aging and death conditioned? There took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is a birth, aging and death comes to be. Aging and death has birth of action as its condition. Then it goes on to explain how the Bodhisattva discovered each of the links of dependent origination through reasoning them out. He saw how each link ceased, and if that link ceased, then the link that followed also ceased. Following the cessation of the last link of ignorance, then the unconditioned arose Nibbana. Then the Bodhisattva had a memory arise from a time when he was a young boy. He had been left by himself on a sofa under a rose apple tree while his father, the king, was at the Flowsware festival. He remembered as he became completely tranquil and relaxed. He naturally had fallen into a very peaceful and energetic state, where his mind let go of all hindrances and desires, entered a completely wholesome, joyful state.
Yes, sir. Vijay, sir, can you explain like in your understanding way so that we can also add it?
Um, no, 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 no.
Yes,
It
Nanda
is
madam, can
difficult
you
for
Yes.
explain?
Venerable Bhikkhu K. Nanananda states in his small book Nibbana, the mind stilled, the subtle layers of preparations also have ignorance, craving hidden within them. This is why even Kalama and Udaka Ramputa that they could get out of this wheel of existence, samsara, by tranquilizing the bodily activities, the verbal activities, and the mental activities. But they did not understand that all these are sankharas or preparations. So they had this dilemma. They kept on calming down the bodily activities to subtle levels. They calm down the in breaths and out breaths. They manage to suppress thinking and pondering by concentration exercises, but without proper understanding. So it was only a temporarily calming down. So therefore, no awakening occurred to Gautama into the true nature of the mind. So he was quite disappointed and rejected all mental absorption concentration practices. And so he started practicing the austere practice of the yogic sadhus. We try to control the pain in the body through engaging in torturous pain producing practices, hoping that he can control his mind, hoping he can experience peace and a balanced mind. So he practiced this for about 6 years, doing unspeakably difficult and even discouraging practices. So this is explained in detail in Majjhima Nikaya 36 and Majjhima Nikaya 12. So Gautama became verge of death. So he, at that point, he gave up that path as well. He did have full control of his body, but that did not lead him to the end of desire, end of suffering. So after spending all this time mastering the yogic concentration jhanas, the future Buddha sat on the banks of Ganges near the present day is called Bodh Gaya. He was nearly starving to death. He was only eating 1 rice grain per day. He knew he would die if he continued. So a young woman in the name of Sujata came and offered him a sweet milk rice to eat. So for the first time in a very long time, he allowed himself to consume a reasonable a portion of food. Immediately. He felt his energy returning, vitality started to occur through his body and mind. While he was sitting on the river banks, a shade of a Bodhi tree, he reflected on his past efforts, realizing they had all been in vain. He was not close to the end of suffering. So he has practiced whatever is there at that particular time to the very end, but he didn't get any closer to awakening. So the Gautama, the future Buddha, started to reflect on the plight of human beings. In the Samyutta Nikaya, at the Book of Cessation, he was saying before his awakening, it occurred to him that this world has fallen into trouble in that it is born and we get old and then die, and it passes away and then we all be reborn again. So yet it does not understand the escape from suffering, headed by aging and death. So it occurred to him, when what exists does aging, he was questioning himself, when what exists does aging and death come to be. So he was questioning himself, by what is aging and death conditioned. So then he got an answer from his own intuition, a breakthrough by wisdom. When there is birth, aging and death comes to be. Aging and death has birth of action as its condition. And then the Samyutta Nikaya explain in detail that the Bodhisattva discard each links of the dependent origination through reasoning them out. He saw each link ceased, and if that link ceased, then the link that followed also ceased, following the cessation of the last link of ignorance, when the unconditioned rose, which is Nibbana. So then the Bodhisattva had a memory when he was a young boy. He was left in a sofa under rose apple tree while his father, the king, was at the plowshare festival. He remembered, as he completely tranquil and relaxed, he naturally had fallen into a very peaceful and energetic state, where his mind let go of all hindrances and desires. He entered a completely wholesome, joyful state.
Yes, thank you, Nanda madam, for explaining. I think in detail it was briefly to say that Buddha, before getting enlightenment, had got into very different practices where he could not we could not get closer to this end of suffering. And as he explained, like he has gone into very different absorption jhanas, but he could not able to make very close to end of suffering. And before awakening, then it was occurred about the dependent origination links. Really very good, nice to read about this one. Reshma madam, could you able to read?
Do you want me to read? Or?
Yes, you can, madam.
Fully observant and aware, a special tranquil state had arisen. He had let go of all striving at the moment and just observed what was happening. He just let everything be and relaxed even further into it. This was the state the Buddha would later refer to with the Pali word jhana. As the future Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree and reflected on his childhood memory, he realized that this was a different kind of state. As he contemplated this condition of mind, he entered this state again naturally. By completely relaxing the body and mind without trying or controlling, just being there in the present, content and joyful as he had been as a young boy, he achieved the same tranquil, open, and light-minded state. What the Buddha to be had found were what Bhante Vimalaramsi calls the tranquil, aware jhanas. This was different from the concentration states he had practiced with his teachers before, and it can accurately be more described as a state of collectedness. Collectedness is defined in English as the state of being calm and composed. He is the very picture of collectedness and confidence, Webster's dictionary says. Then he went even deeper, and in the third watch of the night, from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., he became the Buddha. Buddha is a title for a fully awakened one. This is not his name, but rather his title. After all, Buddha Gautama was not the first Buddha, nor will be the last. I did once have the experience of going into a concentration jhana by accident, ironically, wasn't following instructions typical on a tranquil wisdom insight meditation retreat with Bhante Vimalaramsi. When I came out, there was a very high, powerful state of awareness with a lot of happiness. It was interesting because it felt very holy or sacred and secluded, very much as what I envisioned a holy monk would feel. It dissipated in about an hour and just faded away. The next day, it was completely gone, and it felt like nothing had been gained at all by having the experience. I felt empty, in fact, at having gained nothing from such a powerful experience. It was strange that something so potent had no effect on my personality. I want to believe otherwise, but really no positive change had taken place. This was an insight to me. I went back and reviewed the instructions again and found that I hadn't been mindful enough. I had let myself become absorbed in the object. On another twin retreat, I purposefully did the breathing meditation using concentration to focus on breath at the belly in the way I had practiced Mahasi style Vipassana. I found a very different experience happened when I forced my mind to stay on the breath. Mind became very concentrated. I saw what looked like a border of lights, like a window frame, as if I was looking out a porthole on a ship. There was absolutely nothing inside this ring, just void and silence. Yet, when I came out of that state, I did not feel the same clarity of the tranquil wisdom inside meditation method. The deep concentration left a kind of torpor-like state and was rather uncomfortable. The mind did not feel bright and balanced. It had lost its pliancy and ability to think clearly. Strangely, it felt a little like I was stressed out, jumpy. I went to the Dhamma talk and it was a bit hard to follow the talk. Gradually, however, mind returned back to a more balanced state. With the TIM meditation, you start by establishing an easy open, like-minded state. This is accomplished by using the feeling of metta or loving kindness as the object of meditation, and by smiling, radiating metta outward keeps our attention light and open, while smiling is a wholesome movement that keeps us from taking the meditation too seriously, thereby creating tension and tightness, or as the suttas call it, craving. We prefer the loving kindness object as it leads to faster progress, but breath can also be used if we employ the relaxed step properly. Below, we will use the Satipatthana Sutta to understand the meditation process in terms of breath and the relaxed step needed.
Yes, Nanda madam. Can you explain about the 2 pages which we have read?
Did we start reading number 43? Did we?
Yes, it is where this one, I think, madam. Yes. It was when
44, was it? Page
is it
44.
last it was a state where Gautama remembered about a tranquil and relaxed state. And from here we have started reading. We will explain this one. In this, like Gautama was remembering about the past life, like when he was childhood, when he was sitting at a rose apple tree. There he was feeling an open state, and he could able to memorize the childhood memory, and it was a very different kind of state. Basically what the tranquil meaning in suttas is the relaxing part. When we are completely relaxed both in mind and body without trying or controlling, just being there, like we like in our twin practice, we cultivate this relaxing. We have a relaxed step in our process where we use in 6 hours as recognize, release, relax. Here relaxing is relaxing the tightness present in a mind and body, then coming back to smile, then turn, and then repeating the process. And because of this, we will be getting an open and light-minded state as the students can experience who practice 6 hours. And this being, we call it as a tranquil aware jhanas. And this is completely different from the concentration practices which we have discussed in last few pages. And later, Gautama Buddha went into a third watch of night, that is 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. He became the Buddha. And here it was like Buddha is nothing but the title. Title is a title. It is called as fully awakened one. And here it is explaining that Buddha Gautama was not the first Buddha, nor he will be the last Buddha. And here David Johnson written this book, The Path to Nibbana, has explained about the concentration jhanas. And in one of the retreat, he intentionally did, he because of the twin practice, he developed a lot of happiness, powerful state of awareness. He felt is very happy. what happened was like in one of the concentration jhanas, what happened was there was powerful state of lot of happiness coming, and it dissipated in 1 hour and just faded away. And what happened it doesn't added anything. That experience which had been found with the help of concentration was just an experience and did not last long. And he felt that there was not much gained because of this practice, and no positive insight because of that one. And in one of the instance where in Twim retreat, David Johnson is explaining about he practiced about the breath meditation, and he could have some state of mind where there was absolutely nothing void. But what the difference is that the state which he has experienced with concentration jhana is different from the state of jhana which he has experienced in the twim. And in twim, like has student experience, we have a very balanced, calm state of mind with a state of loving kindness, very wholesome moment, having a relaxed state. And we know that because of this practice, this is a very faster practice when compared to other concentration absorption jhanas. Nanda madam, could you able to add something?
It is very clear. David Johnson is, I think, one of the earliest students of Bhante Ramse. And so David Johnson has practiced the concentration method, which he said he has experienced a deep states, but he realized he hasn't um, experienced any personality changes, and the experiences that he gained was short-lived. And but when he practiced the twin method, which is the relaxed step, with the relaxed step and the smiling step and radiating metta, which is loving kindness, everything was different. So he's saying that when he practiced the twin aware, tranquil aware method, his mind was collected, and he became calm and composed. And when the Gautama Buddha rejected the concentration methods and the ascetic methods, and he remembered that as a young boy he naturally experienced the jhanas because he was very relaxed, and he was in a very joyful state, and his mind became naturally collected and was experiencing jhanas naturally, and in the end he understood the dependent origination and became fully awakened by experiencing all the tranquil aware jhana.
So, thank you, Nanda madam. It was a very good reading, and we continue to read about this thing in coming days also. Now, I would like to share the merits which will share the merits. Yes, I think you can able to see me. Now we will read the sharing merit all together. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas, mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thanking you all for joining. Thank you, Nanda madam. Thank you, Vijay sir, for joining. Wishing all happiness. Thank you.
Yes, happy Christmas and happy New Year to all.